Nut Nerd Podcast, episode 289, A Little Wi-Fi Hygiene.
Welcome to the Nut Nerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Yes, it is me. I am tired of people coming into my seat and taking over the show and pretending to be me. So it's just plain old
Just
Dave Baylor today.
No imposters.
No imposters.
No imposters today.
I hope that doesn't mean this is going to be a boring show.
Never. Well, follow up. There is a study that I believe came out of MIT. We've talked several times about the digital contact tracing apps and how Oregon never got their act together for their app, and as did most states, but some states did, and so they went through and kind of looked through, and basically the consensus is that, well, most states never got them set up. The states that did, it was kind of too little, too late. There wasn't enough buy-in. The virus was too widespread, because I heard on Twitter they were talking about it, and if you come in contact with 1,000 people during the week, I mean, it's good at the very, very beginning, but just the timing was off, and the implementation did not work out.
It's almost like governmental bodies are slow or something.
Yes. But yeah, so I'm looking, they've got a little chart, activation status, over 30%. It looks like Colorado, Nevada, Maryland, and Connecticut maybe were the states, and Hawaii, that actually got over 30%. 30% is a low number. And then there's a lot of light blue, which says there is no state app. Both California and Washington, are states to the north and south, had 25 to 30%. And I visited both those states, and, it gave you a little pop-up or whatever if you wanted to turn it on. But
here's a question I have. Since the governments basically track us anyway, and big corporations through cell phones and ad tracking and all this stuff, can't this contact tracing be done on the back end by the nefarious arms of the U.S. government and corporations like Facebook and whatnot?
You would think they would have just done that. I mean, they did a lot of other things without asking people over the last year. So you would think they're
like, we're going to track you whether you want us to or not.
Yeah, there is a funny note in here. It says exposure notifications are only available for smartphone users, and about 15% of Americans don't have a smartphone. Well, there's a big jump between 30% of people using these and the 15% of people that don't have. We cannot use that as an excuse. Hawaii was the highest at 45.7%. And Arizona had a whopping 1.2%.
Wow.
So
that kind of goes along with the amount of people that are there. So that was probably 6 people who had it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things that they did build. Apple and Google worked together, if you remember, to build some underlying technology and put it into their operating systems. The state governments vary a lot, if you didn't know that. And so some tried, some did not try, and it doesn't seem like it ended up making much of a difference in the long run. So maybe for the next one in 100 years, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, this is one example how diversity can both be a good and a bad thing. We have a very diversified state collection of states, which is good because different opinions, different views, different whatever. It's very great to be diversified. But at the same time, it's hard to get things done when you don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. So it's the danged if you do, the danged if you don't thing.
Yes. Well, in companies that we never thought we'd mention again, Quibi. So if you remember back a month or two, Roku purchased all of their content. So we're not actually talking about Quibi, but Roku announced that they had more streams of all the Quibi content they purchased in 1 month than Quibi did in its entire existence.
And the funny thing about this article is the screenshot they use from whatever film is one of the few shows I tried watching on there that caused me to never watch another
go back
episode again.
Yeah.
It was too much for even me. The hardened sailor that I am, I just couldn't get beyond the crudeness of that program.
Yeah, so Quibi is long gone, but Roku is really their Roku Originals, where they've rebranded a lot of this content that they purchased, and they are talking about investing a lot more. I've got so many different streaming apps and everything. I don't use the Roku stuff, but I do have a Roku built into my TV, and you can put the Roku app just about on your phones, just about any device you have. So if you're in need of content, which if you are, I don't know how, you must have a lot of free time to watch TV or watch content.
Yeah.
But the Roku Originals.
I think there's not enough room in my life for Roku Originals.
Yes.
But for those out there who are dying for it, buyer beware is all I got to say.
Yes. YouTube on iOS. Now, we know that in iOS 14, we got the picture-in-picture. If you're watching a video in an app, then you close out. You can have it still on top of your screen. Well, the YouTube app, I think it worked for a while. You could kind of make it work with...
It's a premium feature. Is
the browser? Well, yes, it has been. If you're YouTube Premium, which I am, which it never was working for me, so they're rolling that out. But they're rolling it out to everybody.
Okay.
So everybody with the YouTube app, which will be very nice, and I'm excited to hopefully have it work where I can get a video started on YouTube, then go over to Candy Crush and play, or doom scroll through Twitter or whatever it is that I want to be. Trying to fool myself that I can effectively multitask in my life.
Well, the pro tip here is open the YouTube website through your browser, and I use the Brave browser and it works. It doesn't work on all browsers. It may not work on Safari, but you have to be in desktop mode. It doesn't work in mobile mode, but in desktop mode it works. And of course the controls are super tiny and you have to zoom in and to do all your controls. But once it's in full screen mode, if you navigate away from that, the picture-in-picture does seem to work. So that's my workaround hack, and I've been enjoying YouTube picture-in-picture for I don't know, a couple years using that method.
Yeah, they did mention in the article that I don't think it is currently working in Safari, but you could use the shortcuts app to have something that puts something extra in
just
the
use
link.
Brave.
So
that's too much trouble.
So hopefully it'll be rolling out to everybody. And if you're a YouTube multitasking fan on your iOS device, you are in luck.
Good.
And you are also in luck because we've got Dave's Pro Tip of the Week.
Always in luck when I talk about my pro tips. This, yet again, is a close-to-home personal conversation I've had with somebody. My son and I were at the store the other day, and he just happened to lay down this concern of his on me. I don't know about you, Nate, with Isla. She's pretty young, but kids tend to have things, concerns, problems, or whatever, but they never want to come to you and talk to them about it. And so it was such a random thing that had been going on for a while. And I'm like, why didn't you talk to me about this sooner? I mean,
if only you had somebody that understood technology in the house.
If only I saw you every single day. Oh, wait, I do. But apparently it wasn't that big a deal. But he had noticed we are recent converts over to Apple Music from Spotify.
Oh, yes.
I took my Spotify dollars and moved them over to Apple Music, and I'm on the Apple One plan and all this stuff, trying it out. And, there have been a few bumpy roads with transferring playlists, and I found out that Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog is not in the Apple Store for some reason. I listened to it on Spotify and Amazon Prime Music, but anyway, that's beside the point. The point is that there have been a few hiccups along the way, and his major hiccup was when he's out and about and his phone is using cellular data, his Apple Music doesn't seem to work. He's like, I try to play the songs, and it's like if they're downloaded, they work, but it won't connect, and I can't search on it. But when I come home and I'm connected to Wi-Fi, it's working just fine. And I'm like, does this happen to other apps? Like, what's going on? Is it a screen time blocking thing? He's like, no, it's just Apple Music. It's really weird. So after poking through a few of the places in settings, I remembered. I was like, aha. So listeners at home, if you have similar issues to this, what you want to do is to go into settings on your iPhone or your iPad, and then go to cellular. And yes, there are cellular iPads, so this works for both. And in my list, it's the fourth one down from the very top. And you tap that, and there are a couple settings. You turn roaming off and select your network and see some data about your plan. But if you keep scrolling down, every single app on your phone that uses cellular data is displayed. And there's a small checkbox next to each one. Well, for some weird, strange, who knows why reason, under the music option, his tab was checked off, which means when he's on cellular data, the music app will not connect to the network. And this is useful for some apps that just use a ton of data. I'm looking at you, Facebook or whatever, that you may not want to be using all your data if you're on a metered data plan. If you have very limited data, this could be a godsend for you. You go in there and you turn off everything but like cell phones and your Burger King app because because you like to order stuff remotely on Burger King. But maybe you turn everything else off, thus saving your data plan. Some people may just turn off cellular altogether, but with this method, you could leave cellular on and just allow the apps that you want to connect to the internet. So if you didn't know about this setting, it's a great place to go in and tweak what data is coming down when you're on the cellular network. But we re-enabled it for music, and immediately he was able to use the music app while we were sitting in our car troubleshooting his phone. So, Nate, have you had similar things or other comments you could make regarding cellular data?
Yes. Well, I will say on this, I think I have run into that weirdness, and I wonder if it's like when you first open the app, if sometimes it'll pop up and say, do you want to allow this app to use cellular? And so it is good to go in there and check and see what is and what isn't. Related to that is Wi-Fi, and we were kind of talking about this, and you mentioned somebody was having an issue with trying to join, it's always popping up to auto join or joining Wi-Fi, and a password had changed so they couldn't get on. And I just want to remind people, you need a little Wi-Fi hygiene, we'll call it. And I have to do this often, especially, I've got a ton of clients and I'm doing IT work and I'm joining their guest networks and their work networks and their third network and the Xfinity network. And I get a list a mile long of Wi-Fi networks. And some of them, it's like, oh, nothing's working on my phone. It joined the wrong Wi-Fi again, or I can't see stuff on the network. I'm on the wrong one. So a couple quick tips. If you go into settings and 2 spots above cellular is Wi-Fi, and you can see it'll show you which one you're connected to, and it'll show my networks. So any other ones that you kind of have set up in your system. And then it shows other networks, all of my neighbors and some other random things there. So there's the little blue eye next to it. And if you click on that, you have a couple options. There's forget this network. If you just know you never want to join this one again, it's your neighbor's one, it always tries to jump on there or something, you can just forget the network and that'll take it out of the My Networks. There's also the auto join. And I have gone through on my Mac and my iPhone, and you can do it on Windows or Android, whatever, and turned off auto join on most of the networks, unless I know it's a network, my main house network, or, the one at your house, Dave, for when I come over. So the auto join can really save you a lot of headache on that stuff. Now, there's also, real quickly, down at the bottom of your Wi-Fi settings, there's the Ask to Join Networks. And there's 3 options: off, notify, or ask. And that's a good one. I've had it before where I'm driving down the street and it's like, do you want to join McDonald's Wi-Fi? And it's like, no, I don't want to join this Wi-Fi as I'm driving by a building or random stuff. So Wi-Fi is a wonderful thing, but it can also be a big headache if you're joining the wrong networks all the time. So
Yeah, if you work in an environment like I do, where we have like a staff network and a guest network,
Yes.
you may want to go into the guest network and turn off auto join.
yes.
So that your device is always defaulting to the private network, so that you can, print or connect to other computers or whatever. That's probably 90% of the troubleshooting I do there at work is I can't print. What network are you on? Oh, I'm on the guest network. Okay. So if you're in a similar situation, this auto join can really help out.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's move on to our takes of the week. This first one might be a little scary if you don't read all those terms and conditions. Some people in Texas started noticing that their smart thermostats, that the temperature was getting turned up
What?
on them. Yes. And so Texas has a smart energy, what do they call it? They've got a program where they're trying to, conserve energy, especially during heat waves, which most of the U.S., I believe, this week has been rather warm, setting records and so forth. But they have, there's Smart Savers Texas. It's operated by a company called Energy Hub. And if you agree to be a part of this program, apparently they were raising the temperature on your thermostats this last week. There was a 3 hour, they kind of had this, hey, everybody, let's take 3 hours and warm up our houses a little bit to save some energy. Some people, they had agreed to something that they didn't really realize, and their houses started getting real warm, and then it takes probably a lot more energy to get it cooled back down after it's been warmed up to 78 degrees, somebody was saying in the article.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of Texans down there going, my freedoms, you can't change my thermostat remotely. It's an interesting concept. I don't think I like the idea of a governmental or a private energy company telling me where my thermostat should be set. But in concept, I think it's great. If everyone had these and there were load balancing issues with power, they could go in and effectively turn everybody's air conditioners up 1 degree, like in the Dallas metro area, and potentially prevent a blackout from happening, because you think 1 degree's worth of energy times a million people, that's a lot of power.
Yeah.
I can see this being really beneficial. Maybe if it was very clear that you could turn this feature off or opt out, maybe right from the thermostat, like a hard switch that says, oh, I'm participating or not, or something like that.
Yeah, it seems like here's a novel idea. What if they had it where you could opt in and say, hey, I want to help out. Send me a notification whenever the grid is really under a heavy load.
Yeah.
And if I turn up, I get $1 off my bill per degree that I turn up my thermostat, or something like that, where it's kind of gamify it, or make it definitely optional, or a little bit more of a encourage people, hey, be part of the team. If you turn up your thermostat for a couple hours, it will really help out our power grid. Because I did see California, who, a lot of California has been over 100 degrees. Death Valley set an all-time record this week, and they're going to be
melting.
Yes, yeah, they've got glass. The desert's just glass now, but they're actually doing their rolling blackouts again, which they did last summer, which is in my opinion, a lot worse, where you just don't have electricity anymore.
Yeah.
So we've got to find a balance, and it seems like this automatically, without really telling people that you're turning up their temperature, might be a little too far on one side, but it seems like there would be a way where we could improve the situation on this.
I like your ideas and your thought. Have we learned nothing? People just, we want to be informed.
No, we have not.
People want to be informed. They want to participate. They want to be the masters of their own destiny. And if you communicate clearly with people, this seems like a messaging and a marketing problem.
Yes.
Just like you said, if this could have been spun in a way that people can be included in helping a greater cause, I think a lot of people would buy in. But if they're being told what to do and mysteriously their thermostat goes up in the middle of the daytime, it's like, that's not how people want to be treated. So
Well, if I guess we can say if this is the only way that our government at any level has any messaging and marketing problem, we're all good, right?
Right. Yeah. It's across the board. See previous story on contact tracing.
Yes. Well, Dave, you're not going to, who knows on this one. Facebook is adding podcasts soon. And we know how you feel about Facebook, but I will say that for Not Nerd, we get a lot of our engagement happens on Facebook. Some of that's because that's where we post more stuff and links and everything. We've got the group, we've got the page. And so what it looks like, and leave it to Facebook to make it not what it looks like, but we will basically be able to tie our RSS feed, which is what podcasts are based on, into Facebook. So it'll auto post. You'll be able to share the podcast easier. You could share a certain, point in the podcast.
A segment.
Like if you're like, oh, Dave's pro tip of the week was the best ever this week. I need to share this with all my friends. It'll make it easier to do that. So I am excited about that. We'll see how it works out in real world experience, but I think that this could be make it a lot easier to engage instead of like having to click over to our website and share the link to that or something else. That it'll bring a lot more interactivity with Facebook, and hopefully they will behave themselves while doing this.
Well, nothing in life is free. So which child do I have to sacrifice to
Yes.
Facebook in order to make this thing work for our podcast? Because there's always going to be a gotcha in there somewhere.
Yes. So I will be testing that out. So you might notice that things look a little different as it refers to the podcast on our Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see how that works out. And now this one, another Facebook story. Facebook plans first smartwatch for next year with 2 cameras.
Of course there's going to be cameras.
Monitor, a detachable display with cameras for capturing video without your phone.
And without other
Red
people's
alert.
consent.
Red alert. I've often said I absolutely love my Apple Watch, and I don't have the cellular version because I never want to be away from the camera on my phone. I love being able to capture a moment, to capture something that I need with the camera.
Well, you want to do those duck face. You want to do those duck face selfies with Snapchat, of course.
Yes. And, get my TikToks in and all that good stuff. I don't know that I want a camera on my watch. I just don't see that being. There's actually like a $250 band that you can buy for your Apple Watch that's super bulky that has like a camera, but it's like the camera is so amazing on the iPhone. For my life, I will just carry my phone with me, but I just cannot see this being anything that anybody wants.
I think we'll get there someday. We're going to have the Dick Tracy watch where I'm looking at my watch face and I see you in there, and there's a camera recording my face and you see it too. And maybe it's going to be a short, like maybe they'll resurrect the walkie-talkie feature for the Apple Watch that nobody uses. It's still there.
It's still there. I know. I saw that. I was like, the app, I was scrolling through all the apps on my phone on my watch trying to get some of them off there, and I'm like, oh yeah, the walkie-talkie thing. I forgot all about that.
Well, maybe it's something like that. Maybe you and I are working in the same building at different parts or something like that, and we're working on a project.
Yes.
And I can just raise my wrist to my face and say, hey, Nate, how's it going? And you could be like, oh, it's going fine. But I could see maybe having it to augment the walkie-talkie feature.
Oh, yeah.
But if I'm going to do any length of video chat with somebody, I don't want to hold my wrist out like this the whole time,
No. So it looks like this is all speculation at this point, but somebody mentioned that it might be around $400, and then they're looking to also have, maybe some augmented reality glasses. So I could see at some point the glasses and a watch kind of being able to work together, but I don't think that Facebook is the company that I want doing that for me.
No,
even
thanks.
as a big fan of Facebook.
Yeah. You're a big fan of Facebook? Wow.
Yes, huge fan.
Huge fan.
Well, Apple kind of released a new product. Their Beats Studio Buds. That's a mouthful. So their Beats line from Dr. Dre, all that good stuff. So these are kind of the Beats version of the AirPods Pro. They're very interesting looking. They are cheaper at $150, which the AirPods Pro are technically $250, but don't ever pay that much. They're always on sale.
I've seen them for $199 and as low as $179.
Yes. So for $100 cheaper retail than the AirPods Pro, it seems like they're exactly that. They're not as great as the AirPods Pro, but a cheaper option, kind of like the those wired Beats. I don't even remember what they're called. The ones that somebody purchased for me, actually. Kind of the in-ear thing. It's like, well, yeah, they're cheaper and they don't do everything. They have a different look than the AirPods Pro. The stem is basically, it looks like it was just chopped off. It's kind of this flat little nub there. But if you are a big fan of the Beats and want the truly wireless in-ear buds, this might be an option for you to check out. But I figured I would mention, since they're out. According to the Verge article, the good stuff is compact, comfortable design, good sound quality for the price, USB-C, and they support Android features, so they're more cross-platform than the AirPods tend to be. The bad stuff: poor noise cancellation, disappointing mic performance, no wireless charging, and they don't offer all of Apple's software tricks. So I guess maybe if you're on the Android side, but really want to be kind of in the Apple Beats world, these might be for you, but I would still recommend the AirPods personally.
Yeah. I wish that Apple would add some color to their AirPods. The red cool color that they have is very appealing, but I just want it to work well with my iPhone and my iPad and my computer, and I don't want to mess around with the Beats brand unless it is feature compliant to AirPod Pros.
Yes. One other piece of interesting news that kind of came out this week, we're recording this before Microsoft's announcement, but they announced that they were having an announcement on Windows 11. Now, you might be saying to yourself, didn't they say Windows?
No.
Oh.
I was interrupting you to say they announced that they're going to make an announcement about Windows 11?
Yes, yes. They said, well, much like
so
Apple, they did the release saying that they have exciting new news about Windows. Oh. And at the same time, somebody somehow got a hold of a leaked version of Windows 11.
Okay.
So you might be saying, didn't they say Windows 10 was the operating system forever?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of up for debate. Maybe like one person said that and it wasn't really a concrete thing, but apparently Windows 11 is coming. So we'll be talking about that after they make their official announcement to see what they have to say about that, probably next week. I think it's the 24th is when they're doing their announcement. So schedule that in so you can watch them talk for an hour and a half about how great their new version of the operating system is going to be.
It kind of makes me mad because I just in the last year have warmed up to Windows 10. I know it's been out for like 4 years or something like that, but I'm just warming up to it. I'm learning all the features and kind of all the stuff, and I'm like, this is very much like a Mac. Most of the features are one-to-one. You can go back and forth without issue. And now they're going to do this 11 thing, and my biggest fear is they're going to move a bunch of stuff around, and then I'm going to have to learn where it all is again. So I don't know. Yeah. I guess that's maybe the same thing when Apple updates their stuff.
Yes.
They keep moving stuff around. But Windows is just supposed to be the same forever, for decades, and not change.
Well, and with the latest, I saw a bunch of memes, the latest Windows 10 update, you restart your computer and, we're just getting settled in. And then they put this little weather widget down in your toolbar.
I noticed that. I thought I did something to put it there.
I know. And I saw the memes were like, hey, Windows, don't change anything. You're great right now. And then it's like, Microsoft, hold my beer. And they're going to throw this annoying little widget news weather thing in your bottom bar. And it's just, and we just talked last week about how they just fixed 50 patches or, security vulnerabilities in the operating system. So we'll see. We'll talk more after they tell us what their actual plan is for Windows 11. But yes, we're finally getting settled into Windows 10, and then they're going to go change it on us again.
I'm sure it's going to be a giant mess. I have no doubt. It's going to be a big cluster of annoying mistakes.
Yes. Well, it is time for our bonus odd take of the week. And this is one that you found, and it is virtualvacation.us, which is funny because I don't think all of the virtual vacations are in the US. So why they chose that. But Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about this lovely site?
It's probably because virtualvacation.com was taken. And so they're like, oh, what's the other one I can use? So this interests me. Virtual traveling has interested me for a long time. Way back when like webcams used to be a thing. Not webcams, like, the ones that like show you like the park in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and here's the Golden Gate Bridge webcam thing. So I've always been interested in those because it's like, one day I'm going to have a big TV on my wall or a big monitor, and it's going to have a live webcam view of like San Francisco Bay or something like that, and it's just going to be like my window, And so I played around with that, and we still haven't got there all these years later. Even with 4K TV and stuff, it still doesn't look real, but so we'll get there eventually. But this website intrigued me so much. It's got different kind of facets of virtual vacations. You can do a walking tour, a driving tour, and it's just what you think it is. Let's say you do the driving tour. You are in first person in an automobile, driving around, just driving around, stopping at stop signs, making left turns, whatever. It's probably a taxi cab or something like that that's got a cam. And these are pre-recorded ones. They're, as far as I know, they're not live right now. They may have some of that functionality, but they're pre-recorded ones. And if you want to take a tour of Venice, you can just sit in the car or walk around the streets virtually and check things out. I did do City Guesser. It's kind of a game based on all these videos that they have.
Yeah.
So people can go around and make these videos and upload them to the service and to be used. And many people have. And so you click City Guesser and it'll give you a segment of video of just kind of looking around, walking down the sidewalk. And you have to guess out of 4 or 5 choices which city this is. And
nice.
I actually was right on a lot of them. I'd be like, I think that's Beijing, China, or something like that. And it's like, sure, not Beijing, China.
Nice.
So if you're at all a geography buff and you want to do stuff like that, anyway, there's just a lot of features. A flying tour. They do have the live cam functionality.
Live
if you want to see some live cams. Stuff dedicated to monuments, and I think that they have a guesser game associated with that as well. Like, what monument is this? Anyway, and then they've got a globe that you can scroll around and kind of zoom into an area and see all the content that's in that area. So no matter how you do it, they give you the tools to find the place that you want to explore. And I don't know, it's really neat. Name a place that you've been to that's not in the United States that might be on here. Probably not Uganda. Is there another place?
Probably not. Let's see. Outside the U.S. besides... Sydney, Australia. I've been to Sydney, Australia.
So I'm going to get my little virtual globe out here, and I happen to know where Sydney, Australia is because my buddy Elliot lives down in Australia, and Sydney, I think, is higher up. Let's see.
Yeah.
Where is it?
To the northeast of Melbourne.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, I see a bunch of dots, and when I click on them, I see Surfer's Paradise, Australia.
Oh, yes. I spent many a weekend in Surfer's Paradise. That is an amazing place.
Yeah, so someone's made a video there that you can
awesome.
Look around.
Go relive my travels. The
nostalgia.
This is really cool.
Yeah, so I think it's just fun, and this was a great thing to have during COVID. Of course, you're just learning about it now, like me. But, you're sitting at home, and you're just like, I just need a 15-minute break. I want to go to Bangkok or something like that, or South America, and just check out some of the sites. It kind of pulls all this stuff together. And, of course, I've talked about it before, but I'm a big fan of Google Earth. Yeah. And you can just spin that globe around and zoom into some place and be like, what is this place? Like, who lives here? Why are you
Yeah.
why are you living in the middle of nowhere? It's just kind of fun to fantasize and look around.
Nice. Yeah, I did one of the walking tours when you shared the link, and you just get a different perspective on things. So I need to get in there and play around with it a little more, and maybe try your dream of having one of the live cams up the Santa Monica Pier, and feel like I'm hanging out at the beach while I'm pretending to get work done.
Yeah, it's just very strange to just feel like you're walking around a town that you're not really walking around. It's like someone else's, your surrogate, and you're just like, there's the tobacco shop, and but it really gives you a sense of actually being there, which is kind of cool.
Very nice. Well, you know what else is cool? Our picks of the week.
So I have the type of job where electronic equipment, I'm like a magnet.
Yes.
Some people will walk down the hallway and be like, oh, here is something that I don't want anymore, but you like electronics, so now it's your problem. In fact, this happened just yesterday. I walk into my office and I open the door. There is a first generation white iPad mini with a shattered screen.
Oh.
And in fact, the top, like 1/8 of the screen, all the pieces had fallen out, so you could actually see the electronics inside. Kind of a fun experiment. But the screen still worked, but it had you'd cut yourself trying to use the thing. And I was like, where did this come from? And I awoke the screen and saw pictures of the assailants' children. So I kind of figured out who it was. The point is I'm like a magnet, and I gather all these things. Some people have given me some older laptops, and are like, if you can make these work, and if there's some kids out there who need it for school, you can get it to them. And I'm like, I know like 3 kids, my kids, and some other kids, they're friends. Nonetheless, I cheerfully take these things because I really hate the idea of useful electronics going into the landfill and just getting buried under dirt, and then 1,000 years later, the aliens come and they're like, why did they throw away all this stuff? My point to this story is I have discovered a local shop, and there may be local shops for our listeners who do the same thing. And my particular one's called LV Electronics Recycling, and they just opened up here in my town, and they will take anything. And if they can refurbish it and reuse it and resell it, they will. If they cannot, they will tear it down into its components, extract all the useful components or precious metals or whatever, and recycle and dispose of things responsibly. Like if you gave them a bunch of APC UPS battery backup things, those batteries are usually worthless, and so they're going to take those out, extract them, dispose of them properly so they're not at the bottom of the Willamette River or whatever. I couldn't be happier. I'm just like, what do you do with the data? It's like, we destroy all the data. What will you take? We'll take anything. And they have a list of stuff, and there were some things that weren't on their list. I said, well, what about like old server parts? Yep. What about like old Sonic Wall stuff? Yeah, we'll take all that stuff.
Nice.
I'm just like, nobody can use this stuff, and they're still taking it. So it gave me a lot of hope that the things that I have at work that I've collected over the years can be disposed of properly without going into a landfill. And so I took a load to them last week, and I'm going to take another load. So the pick is your local electronics recycler. Seek them out and give them your stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And this is a great one. You shared it with me, and I was looking at it, and it's, a small family owned business. And I've taken stuff recently to, just the Pride Recycling, which is, our waste disposal company. And they have these big old things. And it's like, are they really doing anything with this, or just throwing it in the landfill where
you
these
dump
people
it in this giant container?
Yeah. So I am looking forward. My pile, much like you, I am a magnet for old devices. I have a pile in the garage, so I'm going to go check these guys out. So if you can find one of these local companies that's trying to do good with old electronics, please do look, help them out.
And the bonus tip here is they also have a shelf full of electronic components that you can purchase.
Yes, I think LV Electronics Recycling is going to be our new hangout spot.
Yeah, they need to have a little cafe table out front and serve some coffee, and we can just look through the electronics and kind of work on some emails and the whole deal.
Nice. Well, my pick of the week this week is actually something that we heard about on the Mark and Toddcast quite a while back. And it is a website called swimply.com, which is simply with a W after the S. And swim might give you a hint. And this past week was Father's Day, so my wife put together a special trip for my parents and us. And what Swimply does is it's basically Airbnb for swimming pools. So if you have a home with a swimming pool, you can rent it out. And if you are like me, who does not have a home with a swimming pool, you can find a pool and rent it out for a couple hours. And the one we went to, it was up kind of near Hillsborough. It was this beautiful, secluded backyard with this gorgeous heated pool, and we just had a blast for a couple hours, and then we don't have to clean the pool afterwards. But your results will vary, especially in the Pacific Northwest. There aren't as many swimming pools as, say, California or warmer places, but there was several around the Portland area. And Chelsea booked it and surprised my dad and I for Father's Day going to Swimply, and we had a great time. My daughter was in heaven at this pool, but it was really great. They even had a guest house that we had a little picnic dinner in there. And I mean, just really, really cool little service. And one of those things where it's like, man, it's summertime. I'd really love to go to a pool. Where do I go? And you can rent your own and have a little party.
This is incredible. And of course, as I'm getting older and I think about these things more, my question was going to be, well, what do you do about the restroom? How do you, like, you're going to someone else's house? Do they let you in? It's like, yes, third door on the left. No, but it sounds like this place had a pool house that had all the amenities that you would ever need to make it your own space without invading their home.
Yes. So I think your results will vary, but like Airbnb, you can look through all the pictures, and some are going to be cheaper, some are going to be more expensive, but you can look around on there and say, oh, that would be perfect for what we want to do. You might find a small one if it's just going to be your family, or a bigger one with all the amenities. And just kind of scrolling through on their homepage here, there are some pretty amazing pools, and you can chat with the host and check in on this or that. And but yeah, it looks like they're going to add more, like basketball courts, private gyms, and home studios, which we could find a home studio and go, make videos and podcasts. So it's,
Wow.
another iteration of this shared economy type thing. Is that the word for it?
Yeah, well, this just shows you how hard times we're living in right now, when the rich people are willing to, they have to rent out their amenities to the common man, their basketball courts and their tennis courts and their swimming pools. And maybe you could take a ride in their Hummer for an extra $50 or something like that. This kind of is what it feels like. It's like the rich people are being
allow
hit.
you.
But they're being hit financially. And so it's like, well, we have to let the lower class into our space. If we're going to keep the ancestral grounds afloat, go see, if you're interested in that, Downton Abbey has some of those storylines going along. Actually seems cool.
It was great. So thank you to my wife
this is
for getting
really
that
neat.
set up, and thank you to the Mark and Toddcast for talking about it quite a while back. Well, this is the point that we would do our Amazon purchase, and you will remember that last week my mom had told me not to look at the Amazon purchases, which I didn't,
and I was disappointed.
Yes, and this week, today, as we're recording, Monday, June 21st, is Prime Day. By the time you hear this, Prime Days will be over. But Prime started at midnight last night, and then I woke up this morning to have an email at 1:30 a.m. saying that our Amazon affiliate account had been shut down.
Joy.
Yes, and they gave us a very vague reason, so I went in there to try to look, and it just says you do not have access to this. So apparently we did something wrong. At some point, I will be appealing the decision. Of course, just last week I said, hey, let's do this contest. We'll do giveaways for fun products. And then maybe Amazon listened and said, oh, you can't do a giveaway. We're shutting you down.
Something.
But,
who knows? We know Jeff Bezos listens to our show personally every week. We actually give him a live feed
Yes, yes.
warts
He's
and all.
silently on our Zoom call at all times. But yeah, so that kind of a bummer. Hopefully I'll be able to appeal it and get it set back up, or we'll be able to figure out something. There's a lot of great products on Amazon and we like talking about them. So, and we don't make a lot of money. It's not that my daughter will not be able to eat now, but it did help offset some of the costs for, the podcast hosting and everything like that. So we are on temporary hiatus from Amazon and being excited about Amazon, even with Amazon Prime Days going on. I'm a little miffed at the moment.
Yeah,
if you
we're
may.
going to have to become Walmart affiliates or something.
Yes, yes.
Does Facebook have a Facebook Marketplace affiliate plan that we can be part of?
Wow, if you're suggesting that, it is desperate times. So hopefully let us know via snail mail if you bought anything cool on Amazon Prime Days. I have been looking on there. It is, like we said, if you need an Amazon device, they've got some good deals on that, and everything else is hit or miss. If there's something you really need, look it up and see if there's a good deal on it right now. But other than that, it's not what it once was. But so Amazon TBD. With that, we will let you know if we need to replace links or do any of that stuff, or what the next step is, hopefully by next week. But
yeah, we're still fans of Amazon, and we think that that's usually the best place to go to find deals on all of your needs. But if you can't utilize our affiliate link to help us out, they do have the Amazon Smile program that you can still participate in to give pennies, dollars, a few dollars, a little bit of money to charities that participate in that.
Yeah, so we will update you on how you can help us and how you should shop on Amazon moving forward. But with that, we have talked at you long enough. Get out there and tech better. With the green screen not working out real well and the wood one.
I can't believe the green screen doesn't work.
Well, it worked if I turned it off, but then it just cuts off my mustache. So I am a unique use case, as in most situations. There's not a lot of green screen video that I want to do, but maybe that's just because of my mustache.
Yeah.